I want to go to Florida Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz, who also has concerns about the message that the president is sending here. 26 Democrats, including the congressman, signing a letter criticizing that decision to withhold weapons from Israel. I believe, Congressman, the gist of where you're coming from, bad timing, right?
Well, thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me. Well, I mean, look, the objective right now, right, is to get the hostages out in exchange for a ceasefire. That has been the objective for the last several months. What I don't understand is, why do we think providing any daylight publicly between the U.S. and Israel, why do we think that that is going to get us the hostages out sooner? If you're Hamas and you're watching American television, you're seeing what's going on college campuses, right? And now you're seeing, obviously, the messaging in the United States start to change. There's not more pressure on you to release the hostages. There's less. The only pressure we see is pressure on Israel. Israel, Israel, Israel. We don't see anything about Hamas. Why are we not saying that Hamas needs to release the hostages every single solitary day? And by the way, if the United States, if the intelligence services in the United States have concluded that more military pressure is not going to release the hostages because Sinwar will let every Palestinian die before he releases the hostages, then the American administration needs to tell us that. They need to tell us that Sinwar is willing to let it all go. He's willing to let every Palestinian get killed, and he's never going to release the hostages. The administration should tell us that if they believe that that's what Sinwar is trying to accomplish, so that the American people understand who we're dealing with. So college kids on campuses understand who we're dealing with. And the reason the war continues is not because of Israel, it's because of Hamas.
Having said that, though, President Biden, as you know, Congressman, is prepared to up the ante on this withholding weapons thing, warning that if Israel does an outright invasion of Rafah, he'll stop supplying virtually all offensive weaponry altogether. So where does this stop?
Well, look, I'm not as focused on the particular weapon as I am the message, right? Again, because the objective here is to try to get the hostages out in exchange for a ceasefire. And so if you're providing daylight, whether it's this missile or that missile, it's not the particular missile, it's the overall message that Hamas is receiving. Where's the pressure on them? Hamas put out a fake ceasefire the other day. Totally false. Okay? Where is the pressure on Hamas so that the Palestinian people can get to a ceasefire and so that the Israeli families and the American families can get the hostages back? Right? It's only pressure on one side. We will not have a ceasefire just with Israel. We won't have a unilateral ceasefire with one. It takes two to ceasefire. So, you know, my problem is that it appears there's no pressure on Hamas. There's no pressure on Qatar publicly. Forget private. I understand private. But publicly, we need to see the pressure on Hamas and Qatar to get us to a deal to bring home the hostages.
And we are not at that point, to your point. Congressman Moskowitz, very good seeing you again. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Neil.